Opening the meeting July 18th, select board meeting. First thing was to ask for any changes or additions to the agenda. We have multiple on here. Beamer is paper. This is Beamer discussion for paper signature, ambulance employee application. Motion to accept. Person to rec.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion has been made by Jessica, second by Pierre. Any more discussion? We have none. All those in favor of adding these items to the agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Alright, so first on is we need to be talking to an attorney in the executive session.
I'll move.
Town person matters, town matters. Motion by Pierre,
A second.
and second by Jess, to go in executive session. Any more discussion? If having none, all those in favor of going to executive session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. And now we're going to executive session, approximately 6:04. Agenda, a little behind now. Riley Bacchus, you're on the agenda next.
I'm here about the cattle issue again. This is time number 6 for cattle belonging to Laird Noyak being allowed to run at large. I've been to you guys, like I said, 6 times. I've asked you guys to view the fence, adopt an ordinance. The cattle have done damage. They did damage again on the 7th to my property. They've done property damage to other neighbors, and no one has addressed the issue. No fence viewers have viewed the fence, and I haven't received an update on ordinance adoption or anything like that. There's several state statutes that I have listed in regards to that issue. You guys, I don't know what the deal is.
The deal is what we told you right from the very beginning, is a civil issue. You know, you gave your paperwork, how to proceed with that, and
Yeah.
you have not seemed to proceed at all on that behalf.
Well, to pursue something civilly as an individual is a lot of work, and I'm in the process. It just takes a long time. I'm, like I've said before, I'm a single father. I have my kids. I have to work full time, and
You said he did damage, what did you do about the damage?
sorry, what?
You said he did damage to your property, what did you do? That's a civil matter, what did you do? Usually you go try to get his insurance, or what did you do?
I've asked him for his insurance before, and he hasn't given it to me. I've called the police. There's not much they can do. And from what they've told me, it's a town matter.
Who's told you?
The police, Agency of Agriculture, Agency of Natural Resources.
Well, the Agency of Ag did call us last Friday because you called them.
Yep.
And we have an email from them that they state that it is not our problem.
they stated to me that they would send you an email, but, they could not tell someone else what their position was. But they did verbally tell me that. But they could not put that on paper in writing. The other matter that I'm here about is conflict of interest. And through the meetings and through things that I've heard that there's a conflict of interest, and I've asked if you have your conflict of interest policy, and
Yep, I do have it.
haven't received that yet.
What's the conflict of interest to what? Pertaining to what?
Pertaining to the cattle, to, the property in question where the cattle is owned by, Larry Benoit, and, there's members of the select board that, have an interest in that property.
Like, name them, please. Who has interest in that property?
Dean Wright, he leases that property.
Okay,
I leased the.
you lease the land.
Yep.
The fields, yeah.
Yep.
Nothing to do with the cattle.
No, but you wouldn't want to upset Larry, and you haven't rescinded yourself from any of the meetings.
For
And-
what? For what reason?
Well,
We're acting as a board
Right.
here.
right. Well, he has an interest in the property, so you wouldn't want to upset your landlord per se.
We
So-
don't follow you at all. But I don't know what we're
And
conflict of.
Have I
Mr.
been
Jarvis, you
impartial at all?
you have made it quite clear that it would be conflicting with farming if you were to adopt an ordinance to the town, because that would make a good farmer's life harder, and it actually would not. It would actually put
I think
the
I've
town
told you how an ordinance
a
has
step
to be
forward.
established. I
And-
don't, we have a lawyer here could explain the process of how an ordinance needs to get established. We can't just snap our fingers and there's an ordinance.
This might be a good time for,
Sure.
can you explain
Sure,
the
sure.
ordinance?
So Mr. Bacchus, I'm Ed Adrian, I'm the one that sent the letter, I think I emailed it to you, and the town also sent it to my office. You know, I just was in the room giving some advice to the select board regarding your situation, and they wanted me to answer whatever questions you might have. I can't give you any legal advice, obviously, but I understand that you want the town to do something, but there's a process. So one process is you can request an advisory question, put it on the ballot, either for the November election or for town meeting day, in order to ask the residents of the town, do you want this kind of an ordinance? Now, the select board still doesn't have to if it's advisory, but usually, in my experience, select boards will follow the members of the town if they vote yes on an advisory question. So if you want to see how many folks in town who vote agree with you, there's a pretty simple way to do that. You just get a petition signed. I think it's 5% of the voters of the town. Gets done all the time. We represent towns from Wilmington all the way up to Highgate and everywhere in between. And it's a pretty common thing that gets done. You can go to small claims court against your neighbor. There's a $5,000 limit there. That's not a hard process, and it doesn't take a long time. Usually it costs about $100 or so to get in. And I don't know what your damages are, but if it's under $5,000, you can collect up to $5,000, and there's almost never any lawyers in there. So that's another way to go about things. As far as conflict of interest, I don't know all of the details, but usually if somebody has a financial gain that they're going to get out of the situation, that's a conflict of interest. But just because somebody's a farmer, half the select boards in the state of Vermont would be conflicted off of any case dealing with farming. That's just what they do. If you don't like who's on the select board,
Oh, no, that's not it at all.
Well, but I was just gonna say, I mean, I'm just giving you the different remedies here, and if you wanna take any of them up, you're certainly free to do so. You know, I see all the time, folks are not, and I don't typically work with Enosburgh, so I don't know exactly what goes on in Enosburgh, but I can tell you all kinds of towns in Franklin County, people aren't happy with what goes on, and they vote new members on the select board, and sometimes there's one person behind that because they wanna do something. I'm not encouraging you to do that, but I'm telling you that's legal and there's a process for doing that. Happens all across the state, from the smallest towns to Burlington. Goes on in Burlington too. So, you know, yeah, I think you said this was your 6th time here. I'm just doing a little bit of quick math. If you're here each time for an hour, that's about 6 hours you spend, plus whatever the commute time is. You could easily file a small claims case for, you know, less than a third of that time. You know, so those are some of the other options that are available to you. But, you know, these folks, you know, I was joking with them that they get paid the big bucks, but I think you and I know that that's a joke. And they're trying to help the town out, do the work for the folks in the town. There's a few thousand people in the town.
Right.
So they gotta make sure that everybody's interests are protected, and, you know, I think that if you could work things out with your neighbor and get somebody maybe to sit down with the two of you that you both respect.
Well, we've tried that before, and,
Just wait one second.
San Alvin Central, eliminate Headstone for Enosburgh Fire. Again, this is San Alvin Central, eliminate Headstone for Enosburgh Fire. San Alvin Central clear, 1857.
Sorry, you were saying you tried that before?
yeah, we tried that in 2018, and he made these all outlandish claims of deer and a moose that were taking down his fence, and since then the problem has gotten extremely worse.
How much?
And,
Sorry.
he doesn't maintain fence. He doesn't keep the fence on. He's been leaving the fence down, and the cattle have to cross the roadway in order to come on my property. And that's why I'm here. It's a public safety problem. It's a nuisance to the residents around that property.
And presuming that everything you say is true, and, you know, obviously I wasn't there, that sounds like a problem, but that's not, you know, the town isn't the ones that regulate his fences.
Well, they have fence viewers.
Yeah, but the fence viewers are to determine where the boundaries are, not to, you know, go and inspect whether an electric fence is down or not. Otherwise, every town in the state would have to pay their fence viewers as a full-time job, which, as you know, it's not. And you want me to pass these around?
You can look at those.
Are they all the same or are they different?
No, they're different. Every one of them's different. Some of them are damage to my property, some are, the cars in the roadway, pushing the cows up and down the road, and the amount of time that cows were out of the fence.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, I mean, I don't know if other folks
And-
want to this.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all with fence viewers, but according to state statute, there's more than that goes along with being a fence viewer. There's statutes that state for maintenance and having a sufficient fence, as well as, fence viewer can, go to the length of telling, someone how many animals they can have on that property. Because if you punch in fence viewer in the state statutes, all that comes up. 3801 through 3814 or 16. There's like 16 statutes in there that say different things about what the fence viewer's job pertains to.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Let's say the town has somebody go there and they say, to your neighbor, you know, you need to do X, Y, and Z because the fences are inadequate. And then he doesn't do it, then what happens?
Enforcement of some sort.
What would that enforcement look like?
I don't know. That's what,
But that, what, I mean, that, so the town only has so many tools in its toolbox. I'm not even saying that I agree with you, but I'm just trying to work with,
no, I hear you.
you know, what you would like done. I mean, usually when there's a town violation, if there was a violation, and I'm not saying there is, but the town has limited opportunities available to it, and it costs the town a lot of money in order to enforce those opportunities. If you, as a private landowner, have damage to your property, your remedies are much more likely to be addressed by a court quicker than anything that the town could possibly do, because it's not really a typical function of the town.
Right, I'm looking for a permanent solution for this, because I don't believe that, yeah, the court's gonna award me some money if they award me any money, if I even get paid. But that doesn't guarantee the cows are gonna stay inside the fence.
Well, that's true, but, you know, it seems like, and if you folks wanna cut me off at any time, just cut me off so I could talk, and I'm happy to talk to you, I just am trying to figure out what the lines are here, but if you if your property is being damaged, and obviously your neighbor has some assets, then you should be compensated for that. And that, you know, his assets should be liquidated and given to you. Now, I know of some instances where one time's enough to get somebody to stop doing it if they have to pay out a certain amount. I know other instances where it's taken 3, 4, 5 times for the person who is causing the damage to have to pay out before they stop doing whatever they're doing. And it can happen, you know, it can happen with culverts. They're putting their culverts the wrong way on the property and the neighbors get flooded. There's all sorts of problems that go on with neighbors. But while the town wants to make sure that everybody's getting along, it can't micromanage every situation between neighbors. That's really up for the neighbors to work out between themselves. And if you can't work it out, then that's what the courts are for.
So, just back up real quick, a small claims court, if it was awarded him damages, and then it happens again, he could go back again, even though
Yeah,
it's
you
a
can go
different
as many
incident.
times as you want, as long as it's gotta be a new incident, obviously, but each incident is up to $5,000. So if the cows got out on January 1st, and then they got out on February 1st, and then they got out on March 1st, each time you can file a claim in small claims court. You know, I don't know this other gentleman obviously at all, but I think most people have a limit as to what they want to end up paying out, you know, unless they're Elon Musk or something, which I doubt he is. But I think, you know, I've seen this before. These folks are gonna, you know, they're accessible to you, they're respectful to you, and I understand how it's easy to come here and keep asking them the same thing. But that sort of gets back to my point where they have a lot of things on their plate. They have to look out for the interests of the whole town, and their mission, their job is not to micromanage things like this between neighbors when there are more appropriate ways for the neighbors to deal with it amongst themselves.
Right, but it's not just the neighbor thing. They're crossing the highway, and it's a danger to the public. That's why I'm bringing this to them.
Well, you keep bringing it to me, and I drive by there as much as I can, and I've yet to see them in the road. If they were in the road, I definitely would address them on that, but I physically can't see them there. You're there more than I am, so you're seeing them out and about. But unless you catch them,
Well, you can see from the pictures that there are cows in the road and on my property when there are cars going by, or a minute after.
We never get phone calls on it.
Well, I don't dispute what you have in the photographs, but again, that actually is not, you know, those are public highways and those are regulated by law enforcement, which my understanding is the sheriff's department.
And they're telling me that, well, we don't deal with cattle.
Well, so that's an interesting issue. So right now, we're at a point in time where, you know, law enforcement is being called on to do all kinds of different things. Some towns are trying to cancel the police, other towns want them to do more, and the police are sort of caught in between. You know, the sheriff's department, they have some discretion in who they deal with, but what I can tell you is if the cattle are in the road and they're blocking traffic, it's a civil potential criminal violation. Now, if the sheriff's office is telling you that they're not gonna deal with it, and I'm just taking you at your word, that is something that you need to bring up with somebody that's not in the sheriff's department and that's not on the select board. You either need to bring that to the state attorney's attention or to your state rep's attention.
I have.
And
My state representative, Felicia Leffler, she brought a bill to the Committee of Agriculture, and we're sitting on a bill just to update the current statutes.
so
And
that's good.
And the state's attorney has brought the complaints that I've made to the state police and sheriff's office, and they were thrown out by the judge because, according to Jim Hughes, he is the judge involved, is not from rural Vermont and doesn't realize what goes on apparently, and he didn't view the statutes as sufficient enough or worthy of the court's time, because it's $100 for a bull that is out at large, or $10 per head of cattle at max.
But I believe those state statutes also allow for civil damages,
Right.
which if the judge is, you know, not understanding it from a criminal enforcement standpoint, he or she might understand it from a civil enforcement standpoint, and the neighbor might understand it if he has to start paying you money out. I mean, if it's a big enough damage, you can just go to regular court. But small claims court's easier, and $5,000 is a pretty good chunk of change. So, you know, I hope the damage isn't more than that. But I guess, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, the select board feels like it's done what it can do and that it's given you the tools. You know, if you're not happy with their decision, which is totally your prerogative, you know, it's your right not to be happy with the select board. I'm sure everybody in this room is not happy with what some of the politicians have done from time to time. And there's ways to address that within the system. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, you know.
Yeah, I just think that this, they've known about this issue long enough where something should be happening.
Who's they?
The town, on a town level. I mean, this issue has gone on for over a decade, as far as I know. And for a couple of my neighbors, it's gone on for almost 20 years.
that's kind of why I go back to if you had a petition for all the voters, because this isn't a one-person thing.
Yeah, and this is the first time I've been aware of the petition.
We've mentioned that probably the first time you came, the first time you started talking about the ordinance.
Yep.
And I talked about how to proceed with that. And so you basically need to get enough signatures on some verbiage and put it in front of the voters. There's also public meetings and that's why I'm saying it's not something the board can just say, poof, we can do it. Public informational meeting, if you have that verbiage in front of you, people are aware we're having a select board meeting tonight, but we're not here to talk about some ordinance. Everybody needs to know in advance, that's what they're coming for, is a petition, be it for a conservation issue or this cow issue or whatever it is. It has to be legally posted more in advance. Then you have a public informational meeting. And we'll listen, and like we said, we'll tend to whoever's, if they tend to want whatever's in front of us, we tend to adopt it. We still have the opportunity to deny it at that point. But you put it in a town meeting.
A question to the public on a ballot,
And then that's.
but you have to come up with, you have to do the work, you have to do the legwork. It's some heavy lifting. You have to get out with a petition to create the language of the ordinance that you want, to go door to door, get people to sign it, and then bring it.
And then that goes to, once, even if something was adopted, how enforceable is it?
I mean, that raises a great point, because usually the fines for those things are 100, 200, maybe $500, which is not an insignificant amount of money, but if your concern is that, 5,000 isn't enough, I don't know how $200 or $300 or $500 is going to be enough. Whether he pays the town or whether he pays you, he's still paying money. So if he's not going to be dissuaded by, you bringing him to small claims court, why would an ordinance be dissuading him?
So I would bring that to a petition to November election. Is that how that works?
I can get Billy Joe the procedure for that, and she can send it to you as far as how to put together a petition. There's a couple of different ways to do it, but it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the hardest part is really getting people's signatures. I think it's 5%, of the voters. So if there's 1,000 people on the voter polls, then you have to get 50 signatures. Not too hard.
Of the
Stand
voters and
outside
the
in front of
municipal,
Enosburgh.
Yeah,
municipal voters.
2,500.
2,500. Okay, so yeah, so that's not a real heavy lift. And then if it's an advisory question, that means you vote on the question. Question could be something like, shall the town of Enosburgh adopt an ordinance that requires the owners to maintain their fences. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but for example, and then people would vote, should they have that, should they not? Maybe it gets debated if it's on for town meeting. I don't know if you use Australian ballot in the fall and there's no debate. And if it passes, then you can certainly come back and say, hey, I got this on the ballot, people are interested in it, maybe you should consider it.
It
They're still
doesn't mean
not.
that it goes into effect if it passes.
It's called advisory. It means, should we, the people of the town, tell the select board to do it? Select board still doesn't have to do it, so there's no promises, but again, and I don't want to commit the select board to anything, but I think that if a bunch of people in town voted for something, usually the select boards are like, oh, look at all these people want to do that, that's something we should consider for sure. It gives you the power of harnessing the power of the voters to get onto your side without having to bring them all to the meeting. Or, I don't know, you have a live meeting in March? Yeah.
Hopefully this year.
Yeah, last year was,
So you got a lot of different options, and But I think all those options mean some knuckling down on your part.
And they don't always mean results anyway.
That's all I got.
Yeah, we are starting to fall behind our agenda there. Maybe in a couple minutes, we want to follow up on anything else?
I don't know, I just, I'm at the end of my rope with this issue, and, hard living next to somebody that just, doesn't care, and, like, Ian said last meeting, he's really concerned, well, right after the meeting, he left his fence down for 3 weeks in a row, consistently every day for hours at a time, and that's how the cows got out last time.
Can I ask you real quick? You said you deliberated in 2018. Who was that with?
You, Terry Wright, Pierre,
At a selectmen's meeting.
yeah,
Yeah, I think he's talking about is having something off to the side, not municipal powers, but somebody in between that can
Larry,
talk to both sides.
yeah, I mean, Larry Benoit was there.
No, but an individual that is trying to be non-biased to both of you, that is not a select board member, you haven't had that. Like a mediator.
Yeah.
No,
Have you had that?
no.
Is there anybody that you think could be that person rather? You and Larry?
I don't know.
Would you be willing?
Yeah. But, I mean, like I said, it's always an excuse. It's always somebody else's fault. Somebody, I've been accused of taking his fence down, and why would I take his fence down? Or somebody else is taking his fence down, and there's no reason for anybody to take his fence down. And I don't believe that to be true at all. And the fence is in very poor shape, and I've seen him walk right through the fence, so. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I have video of it, I have pictures of it.
So maybe we can come up with a couple people that may be able to do moderation with them.
But there, on the other hand, there's the, oh yeah, I'll fix it, and never gets done.
Right, and then you also, after mediation, have some choices that were discussed that you could definitely,
Right.
follow through with too. You know, it just sounds like there's some steps that, at least you have some steps that you can take.
Alright.
Cool.
Okay, thank you, Riley.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if we want some more questions before he leaves. But we definitely appreciate your time tonight.
My pleasure.
Yes,
Nice to
thank
meet
you.
all of you.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the summer. Hope you don't need me anymore, but if you do, just let me know.
Sure thing.
Remember that's what
Maybe we
the big
maybe we can
box.
archive some of that Burlington
Oh, believe me.
board stuff you were on.
If you need any entertainment, just let me know.
Alright, so next on the agenda, we have Joey Clark.
Have a good one.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
I'm gonna say, I'm looking for paper, I'll see it in the file, so.
No.
So,
Bethany
it was
she was going to be, but they haven't had Yeah, so she's gonna come in. Potentially the third week in August, and your wife told me that you might have a conflict with a date we picked.
Yeah, 'cause I think, yeah, so you start the first of August as a Monday, so I'm gone on the 15th, which would seem like the second Monday, but it's the
I thought
third.
we had what was our date?
So you will be gone the 15th?
I will be gone the 15th, so for her, we have to, I think the 8th is too early.
If it's too early, so it'd have to be 22nd,
Have to be the 22nd.
which is fine.
That's when she'll have the answer for the.
She said she wouldn't until at least the third Monday, so if we move it to August.
Which I'm fine if you guys want to proceed on the 15th too without me. I mean, you're a powerful board here. Phil will be back.
I don't want you to miss the fun, Larry.
But basically, it's just going to be choices.
Well, she had a few things that she was dealing with, whether she's gonna be able to get some money from the clean water from the causeway.
Oh, the causeway, yeah.
I think that was the biggest.
Then she's gonna talk about the standing seam roof, whether she got that changed or not, and then
Yeah.
am I missing something?
Yeah,
Was
I
it the
don't remember.
size or the height, or, I thought there was something to do with the building.
No, I think the main thing was that extra money, or that was gonna
The
be.
causeway was the money was, but I thought she was also gonna check into the standing seam roof.
Yeah, we need to change that right here,
Right,
that's unnecessary.
So we can address the next either after the end of it. Make sure we bring that up.
Is it, so I've been absent forever, it seems. Has there been any changes or updates on the sand shed project?
well, she's possibly found some more money, it was quite a lot, wasn't it, Joey?
Yeah, I'm not sure an exact amount, but the causeway grant that they had some money left over, and they've been kind of looking for a place to use it, and this sand shed fits that bill for that type of use, so.
What's going on?
Maybe this
There was some
paper
extra money,
represents-
she got some
That is
extra,
what it sounds
she applied for a third stormwater grant, and we got accepted for that, and then they kicked in some more with this extra infrastructure money that's been passed around, so we got extra there, and then that's causeway money was,
quite a chunk. I think.
yeah, it's quite a lot of money, I don't
wouldn't say-
remember
I don't
exactly
wanna say
what.
too much,
There's
but
actually-
it's close to 100,000, I think.
Yeah. And she's still looking at being able to bid a project out.
Yeah, maybe that's what you were thinking
Oh,
of, was
yeah, in two
parking,
different
yeah.
types.
Okay.
Parking,
Two
Concrete and
concrete and
structure.
then structures, were
Okay,
two separate,
yeah,
yes,
that's
that was it.
Yeah, I guess that's what,
Good.
she's gonna get final
Mhm.
confirmation about that.
Which would be fair.
Yes.
So it looks like we won't be putting it out to bid until the end of this year, October, November, maybe.
Gosh, fingers crossed.
We want to shoot as quick as we can because we want to have an answer before
That way when you build a budget.
we have it. We know the answer for our budget.
Right. We thought we started early enough last year, but it really worked out.
Yeah.
It didn't work out anyway, so.
Try again.
So that's one thing that I've got, that I got an email about, it's really nothing to do with the highway department, but I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of it. It's a municipal parking ride grant program. They only, looks like they've only got like $215,000, but it's, you can get this grant to upgrade municipal parking areas, and it's got some stipulations, and
Also,
that went over the Opera House parking area.
I started to read it the other day, and it does have some things that you might be able to do with.
Yeah,
And
it's gotta be
several
municipally owned, it's gotta be close to a state highway. Yeah, it's got
so
some,
theoretically, to be able to pave it.
You have to pay and do some drainage.
yeah, I mean, you could get it upgraded to, yeah, maybe possibly pave it, but, I mean, that $215,000, I don't know how much they're gonna pass it out, if everybody's gonna get 10,000 here and 10,000 there, well, then that might be,
And because we already have one in town, they may not look favorably upon us. They try to
Right.
find towns that don't already.
Would it qualify because a lot of the businesses use it for parking for their employees? Would it
It
qualify
might look
better
less
or-
on it because they don't go over there, park, it's a parking lot. Instead of getting in and managing your,
Might wanna focus more on how many cars are in there
Right.
in a day's time, that's
Yeah.
where they come from.
Yeah, I was actually surprised yesterday when I went to the A's, to see how many were in there.
there.
I think the requirement's gotta be close to state highway, gotta be municipally owned, municipally maintained afterwards, plowed, whatever. Year round, it's gotta be able to accommodate a minimum of, I think it was 10 parking spaces
Mhm.
or, which that's way more than 10.
More.
So I just got that and I said, oh, maybe that would
So
fit there.
it's a good idea to try to get something.
Somebody wanted to go after it.
Is the parking lot near the armory, would that be the same sort
It's
of?
a parking.
Oh, it is, okay.
So the town actually owns the property, but it's maintained by the state, because the land
Oh,
but they maintain it because they create.
oh, okay.
Oh, is that right, the town, that's part of the town's
Mhm.
property, yeah. Oh.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good chunk of change.
Yeah, I don't know how they're, like I said, I don't know how they're gonna divvy that up, but it's, that'd be something to look at. Yeah. So our local hazard mitigation plan, we kinda got some information back in May and I didn't really follow up on it. Did you get,
I think I have
Your
those
questions answered?
proposals. They didn't change. Not, well, he didn't CC you on it?
yeah, but I didn't read it in detail, it was to you, so I.
Well, it was more or less. He did answer, but kind of said it was pretty detail oriented and it would be an undertaking for us. And
Yeah, it is pretty detailed.
Mhm.
So like the one we do annually near the local emergency management plan, that's just more of a local thing, but the hazard mitigation plan is more of it's FEMA that requires it. So like if we were to have a disaster, a flood or whatever, just, you're eligible for more funds at the state level especially by having this plan updated. And the biggest thing is like when we apply for one of the hazard mitigation grants, like we did the box culvert by Untitled Branch Road by Phil's Rob Toys.
Yeah.
This plan wasn't updated at that time, so we had to update it before.
I remember
We sent in the application, but they said, oh, your plan's not updated, so you gotta get that updated. And then it took quite a while, so that held up the whole process, so if you can keep up with it. And they're required to be updated every 5 years, and it ran out last June, so we're over a year out of date here, so.
And this is the letter that goes with
It doesn't really mean a lot to you're going after some mitigation money, or if you have a disaster, it makes it a little harder to get.
it. And I did ask the question of Sean last week because we've expired. And my worry is if we did adopt something very soon and we have a storm, like what's happening today, where would we be? And he said as long as you can prove with like notice of meetings and assigned
Right.
proposal and things like that, that he feels FEMA would honor your attempt is being made to update.
So normally what has happened in the past, the Northwest Regional Office will update this, they'll put the people to it, usually it's Sean.
Yeah.
And it's a lengthy process and, yeah, so anyways, usually they do it, they apply to FEMA to get refunded for the time that they've got into it. FEMA would pay them directly. Well, FEMA has changed their way of doing things and that's no longer the way. Now each individual town has to apply for a grant to get the grant money, to get a grant, get awarded a contract, and then you can go out to, and you gotta probably put it out to bid. And get 3 different bids, I'm sure, from somebody to do the work.
So now it's on the towns to pay for it on it.
And the town will have to pay a match, which would be, I'm sure, 25%. I believe that's what it is.
The village doesn't have that, I did ask that.
Right.
Apparently they, for whatever reason, they don't meet those things.
I don't think
especially
so, I think they fall under this one.
Thank you.
So
You
this
can
is
really
stuff
see
that guys like Sean used to do all the time.
Yeah.
So now,
He used to
there,
update it
was there
for
a
us.
shortage of these? I wonder why they're doing it this way, because it seems like, you must think it's too much time that they're taking out, or?
I think it's about the way the money's distributed and who it goes to. Because now the town is having to fork over the money themselves, they're coming up with
Right.
FEMA coffers.
So basically, the town, it didn't cost the town anything, they do the
So that-
work and then they get reimbursed from FEMA.
So
For
what
their
action,
expense.
what action would we take tonight, like just
Well,
saying that we're,
I got a proposal here from Sean, which he sent back in May, and I kinda dropped the ball and forgot
That's
to.
what I just gave.
Oh, that's what you gave
Yeah,
me?
I just,
So that's, from the Northwest Regional Office, that's their, this is their proposal, their scope of work, what they're gonna do, this is what they're gonna go around doing, and the price at the end is the maximum. It definitely won't be any more than that. Probably it's gonna be less, but it's $5,065. Sean said again, I questioned it the other day because it's been since May if those numbers are still good or not. And he said, well, let me check, if they just started a new fiscal year, 1st of July, and he just wanted to be sure, but he said yes, that those numbers are still good, and that would be the maximum amount, it wouldn't be any more than that, and potentially, and hopefully, it would be less than that, but. So that's if we were to hire them, and that's what a lot of other towns have done, it's just. hire
what were
them
the
to do it.
bids for, you said 3 bid, like what were those?
If you were to go through the grant process, I'm sure, I haven't read the criteria, but I'm sure you
okay.
probably have to get 3 proposals, because everything with federal is.
so
you get
there's
3
other
prices.
people out there that might.
You
Oh,
couldn't just
okay.
hire, you just couldn't hire Northwest Regional people to do the work, I'm sure you'd have to get
Gotcha.
3 bids.
Okay.
Or at least try to solicit 3 bids, if you couldn't get them, then you
Mhm.
just have to document that.
But tonight, if you make the decision to go ahead with this,
Mhm.
and I notate it in the minutes, and then they sign, they send something maybe from there to sign, or if it's a signature
Right.
page there.
At least it'll be on the bill.
It'll be that way, so if there were something to happen, he's saying that it's likely to
Right. That makes sense.
So the $5,000 is basically to get Northwest Regional to update the plan.
That's right.
And
That's
we
their
need to
time to do it.
And we need to do it because
We do.
could be 6 figures you're losing.
Yeah, it's something you're kind of required to do, and like I said, it's over a year outdated, so. And last year we brought it up to Sean, because there was this email being sent out by FEMA, or actually, Vermont Emergency Management was sending it out, wanting to know if your plan's coming up here very soon, do you wanna apply for this grant? So we questioned Sean and said, should we apply for this? He said, I think we can just do it like we always do. But
We changed.
then when you get around to actually doing it, then the Northwest Regional didn't have a pot of money to dip into, and they found out that FEMA was no longer just allowing them to update these plans and then get reimbursed, so.
Gotcha.
So then it's like, yeah, we can't do it that way, so here's a proposal, and we were kind of reminding him probably after the first of the year or whatever. So maybe we need to get it updated, and that's when he sent that proposal, and I forgot to bring it in, forgot to mention it. But
I was paying corn.
Me too.
Yeah. Over and over. So we,
I mean, you could go and apply for the FEMA grant, but then you're still gonna pay a match, and it's gonna be a lot more complicated.
This
And it's
sounds
gonna
like
be
it's
a
all
lot more
done.
time involved, and
Yeah.
you don't really have that.
I'll
luxury.
move that we have Northwest do this.
adopt his proposal.
Yeah. Of course.
I'll second it.
Dean made the motion, Pierre seconded motion to adopt Northwest Regional Plan Commission proposal for services. FEMA, right? Local hazard mitigation update.
So you said there's a page for that
Okay.
or something?
No, I wasn't sure if there was if he had sent.
Any more discussion?
Sometimes there are.
Let's go discussion a little bit.
We don't see one. There might not be. He may.
You got this one, right?
Is that just the
Yeah,
copy
just
of the
cover,
email?
yeah.
Yeah.
What are you looking for right now?
I was just looking to see if he sent along a contract.
Just see if there was a place to sign, but I don't see where there was.
Both motions in order, or motion second in order. Any more discussion? If having none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We accepted the proposal. for Northwest Regional Planning. And have to find out for some signage and
There may be a contract to follow or
Contract.
something, I'm not sure. So you want me to just.
for prices not to exceed
notify the email tomorrow?
$5,000.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of really quickly read his thing, and he just said as long as you have the agenda and the minutes and the proposal. Maybe sign the proposal, if all else fails, sign the proposal and give that back page to the, where the amount is stated.
You could on the back page.
And-
there's some
So this
space.
one maybe?
Right.
And so they still need to figure out who the planning team is.
Well, they have one in place for us already, so it's kind of like,
okay.
they're not reinventing
This is more
it.
general, yeah.
It's just making up.
Okay. Perfect.
I can just put it on the last page and we
Yeah.
can come up with something.
And you can have a new one since you're giving it away.
Seven, 18.
You can give it to Joey, he's gonna polish on tomorrow.
Alright, I got a driveway application for McGowan Road off the Long Bridge Road. For a guy who's named Dennis Sheldon. He wants to put an access into his lower, he bought some property from another property, I don't know if it was from the Thomases or where it was, he bought a couple years ago. No, anyways, he wants an access to that for, he hired Paul Sylvester to put in a pond, and he's got some logging roads, and I think he's gonna do some more logging there and stuff. And potentially, maybe down the road, he's gonna subdivide, so I just explained to him, I were trying to cut down driveway entrances, so I said, if you think this is a place you're gonna subdivide, maybe a lot or two or three,
Put one.
try to have this be the one, so for the future, this is gonna be your access to that 100 acres of land that we bought. He said, yeah, I don't know for sure right now if we're ever going to, or if we do, maybe a lot or two. But he said, yeah, this definitely would be a good spot for that, so. So I haven't actually been there and seen it in person. He sent me some pictures. I know exactly where he's talking about. And I gave him a pretty good idea of what he'd have to do for a culvert and stuff. So I don't have any notes on here as far as conditions and restrictions as far as what he's got to put in for a culvert until I do actually see it. But I said, well, I can bring it to the select board meeting. I think probably they'd feel comfortable signing it so that you could get started once I get a chance to see it. So. And he did send some pictures of Bruce, so I know right where he's gonna put it.
Makes sense where it's going.
Yeah, we got good visibility there, and
No,
probably the best place of any of that little stretch. It's on the 2/10 of a mile road there, 5-3 road.
it's not gonna water affect the roads or nothing.
No, pretty good contractor doing the work here, Sylvester, so they know what they're doing, they'll
So
I'll
McGowan
just
Road.
put some notes
Yes.
in there as far as ditching and stuff, so make sure the water's not run out into the road. Paul's really good about that stuff, he does a good job.
Another thing is that it's kind of our policy to go through and sign something without your meeting your.
We can just put a motion, just make it part of the motion.
Otherwise, we'll set a precedent. We'll do the next one.
Have you seen it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen it, I know exactly what you're talking about, I can pretty much tell him exactly what he's gonna do without even seeing it. And he did send some pictures today of where he flagged it off, the area, so.
I'm just showing it up.
I just figure this way it gets the ball rolling, don't have to wait another 2 weeks or.
Maybe he
for the
doesn't
next
sign it
meeting.
until he signs it. You guys.
Yeah, he's not gonna
He
do
doesn't
it
sign
until I approve it and tell
It's
him.
kind of a little
this
in
looks
reverse
good.
As long as we're all going in the same direction.
Just if he calls you and wants to know, just say to speak with Joey, because he wants to make sure.
I like that, as long as we're all going in the same direction, doesn't matter if it's forward or backward.
Google search says it's not there. No internet connection. What?
It's not very good in this
Are you serious? This is Enosburgh.
Should have it, right?
Should have it here.
I'm almost very confident he's gonna need an 18-inch culvert.
Is this is over near one of the ones that we asked for roads? That we
Yep,
trigger.
just down from where we turned around.
That's for sale now, they're not in there.
Yeah.
Oh really? The ones that
Mm-hmm.
And
They're working on a driveway when we were there, right?
yeah,
That's for sale now.
I guess. Yeah, I
For-
guess that's changed. Change of plans or something there. So this is just down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. From where we turn around, it's the house before that. They don't even live in Vermont. I'm not sure whether they have a place in California. They did have, I don't know where they have.
They live in Georgia now, the state.
These people do.
So I guess I'll entertain if you want to have a motion or not. With stipulations.
I'll move that we accept or approve the driveway permit. As long as they meet Joey's requirements and it meets Joey's satisfaction.
I'll second.
Dee made the motion, just second the motion. To accept driveway permit on condition. Any more discussion? And having none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Alright,
All those opposed, say nay. Is there a permit number in this?
No, I don't usually use the.
Let's do that. Alright, so,
I just would sign the second page, that's the notice to proceed. He won't get it until I put in the conditions and.
notice approval to proceed, page.
Circle. Did you find that out?
No, I haven't, we've been able to.
You don't, you wanna bring it up last week or later?
Sure. We'll do that.
Okay. You can just let me know.
Mhm.
Or do I need to
Take it out.
take it out or not?
Good? Anything else?
Back, talking about classifying roads, remember when we did changed the class 4 roads into trails and then we discontinued some that were petitioned to do? Remember I was saying there's probably some class 3 that ought to be called 4, because that's kinda how they're treated.
Yeah.
Is that process something you guys are ready to get started, or do you even wanna start doing that, or?
Well, if we're gonna do it this year, now's the time because it's all the warning period and stuff's gonna take us into October already.
Yep. I mean, it doesn't have to be done this year, but I think it's something we need to think about.
How many are
There's probably like a couple miles total. There's a section of Enosburgh Mountain, there's a section of Sand Hill. section of Borderville Road, lower part of Borderville Road. These are places we don't plow in the winter time. And so that, with that being said, it doesn't really meet the class 3 standards, so they're, all I'm asking, I'm not looking to downgrade the road, I'm just thinking we should start calling them what they are.
Yeah,
The way they're treated, they're, you know, graded once or twice a year to keep passable, but they're not plowed in the winter time. There is some language in there where select board can authorize that a class 3 road not be plowed in the winter time if it poses a hazard to the employees or equipment. You know, if it's a dangerous, and if it's not necessary, obviously if somebody lives there, it's not necessary.
like that section over by Dan Cunningham,
Yeah, yeah,
that's, I guess, dangerous.
yeah. That's dangerous, but unfortunately, there's people that live it.
Yeah.
But there's those that we don't plow during the winter time that are, they're treated like a class 4, and we should probably call them class 4. And there's a metal lane tools, another one, there's Curly's, it's and I don't know, but the only downfall of these, you're gonna be giving up some money, cause you get state aid on class 3 roads, $1,400 and some odd dollars a mile. So you're giving up a little bit of money. You go from a class 4 to a trail or whatever, it doesn't, you're not losing anything. You just reclassifying it. So I don't know, it's up to you guys if you wanna even attempt those or start with that process.
Are they, is there anything in there on them now about the plowing, not plowing them? Or they just, is that,
Somebody seems to care.
Yeah, that's something we should at least do to make sure we didn't have to. If we didn't go class 4, at least do that, right?
Yeah,
But then the thing is that say there's a, I don't know, an erosion or something like that, then we've gotta go back up here and put it back.
that's part of that water quality, that's why, you know, to get to we had class 4 roads that were trails, so we need column trails. And we got class 3 roads that are class 4, and we need column class 4. But yeah, you would be, under that water quality, you would have to be obligated to go and fix what they call gully erosion, which you would anyway, because these are actually roads, they're roads that people do travel in the summer months. Just not in the winter months.
And they're not going to be, there would be no reason that you could see that somebody would, or could they make a town plow in the winter?
I suppose if somebody was to build and live there year round, like what happened like on the backside of Enosburgh Mountain, we extended their plowing range there a mile because somebody had a camp and then they decided to live there year round. So then we upgraded the road to a class 3 standard and then plow it, and we do plow it. And there's nothing saying that a class 4 road couldn't be upgraded to a class 3 if somebody did choose to build a half a mile pass rotary plow or a mile pass rotary plow, and they decided to build, they were gonna live there year round. And the town could then upgrade the road.
So we can go either way. So I mean, if we were to start this process and go from a 3 to a 4, and say 2 years down the road, BJ gets a piece of property up on one of them that we classified as a 4, and she just comes back and tells you that we own this piece of property and can it be upgraded?
You can.
And then it would come back towards us, right?
I think it's the actual, if somebody was to build and buy a piece of land, build up on a class 4, it's up to
For them to get it up to
for
the
them
specs.
to get it up to class 3 specs.
And
Then the
then you
town
take it
can
Then we can
start
adopt it
maintaining
as 3 as well.
Right.
Which makes more sense if we have to maintain it.
Yeah.
You know,
What I'm saying is
somebody
you
wants to
can-
build that enough in the
You
area.
can upgrade it, you can upgrade it back to a 3.
But you would want them to do it if they,
They
But
would
it- but
have
it-
to pay for the
But
road
but
work.
at their expense, yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, just, okay.
There's some people that really may be against that, so, but
Might as well
Well, if
put it in the,
the whole process includes a 2 public hearings?
Well,
One.
One?
a public viewing from you guys and then the public.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
gotcha.
it'd be warned, what is it, 30 days or is it 15 days, whatever.
And all the butters of this area get sent.
I'll let it
Yeah,
by
all the
certified
budding
mail.
landowners and interested parties, which we like the snowmobile club, because a lot of these places are using snowmobile trails in the winter time, which it's not gonna change, it's not gonna change anything. It's just gonna, the roads would stay the way they are, and we would continue the same maintenance policy. Some towns have a class 4 maintenance policy. We don't, we just kinda,
Right.
our class 4 roads that we had before weren't able to be maintained because they weren't even a road, they were a trail. Or in this case, if we are to
I think
grade
we,
those, reclassify those to class 4, then we could have a class 4 policy. We wanna keep it passable during the summer months, and winter months it'll be a snowmobile trail in all these places, so.
I think we probably should be going that direction and get everything put the way that it's actually utilized in.
I could see down the road you could get in some trouble there, like with these family events and stuff. Well, it's not just that, this, Municipal roads general permit process, they went around and did these erosion inventory on the roads, and some of the stuff is crown and berms on the side of the road. Well, you take and you got like 20 years to get all this stuff addressed, so like if over Enosburgh Mountain, I put a real black eye on this, because there's nothing but, both sides of the road is a berm.
Yeah.
Until the road's like upgraded and fixed and made ditches, and it's not gonna be right, it's not gonna fit their criteria for a class 3 road. So, that's another good reason for that, is to call them what they are, so that we don't get.
So, yeah. Yeah, I think, start getting that together, and the rest of the board feels the same way, and we should try to get that addressed this fall. The last time it was right during hunting season, by the time we got,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
probably will be that, at least, it's not.
it was very orange out.
Yeah.
That it?
That's it.
The next item, you might wanna stick around for is quotes for lights in parking lot. That's over by Upper House. So there was discussion that they wanted better lighting, make it safer over there. Village of Enosburgh gave a quote for poles and yard lights at Opera House.
What was
For
that
a
at the,
grand total of $1,700, $1,703.32.
that the parking area over there?
Yeah.
At the Opera House?
I guess
That grant would probably pay for that,
that,
if you got it.
so it says install pole, so that's kind of interesting
There's
because
two.
where,
they need
because
two because
he's
each
the one
one-
plowing all the time. He shouldn't, should like to know where is a
Yeah,
good spot to
you can
put
always
it.
talk with Dave about where he would find it easiest.
Yeah, cause you.
But I think there's one there, and do you know anything about it? Were they gonna install two? I think it was for two
I'm not sure where,
lights.
yeah, I don't
Um,
know. I'm guessing probably in that back corner.
See, everything else
Where's
is
the
two,
back
but the
one?
pole, so there is one pole with electricity already there.
Two
Yes,
yard
it's the one
lights.
that's over by the dumpster.
Right.
Yes.
But then,
Okay, yeah, one pole,
Yeah.
2 yard lights, so they're gonna put one on an existing one, I imagine.
I just think like over in the further corner when you're facing the parking lot behind Chris Gation's house is a lot of times where you'll see the garbage and the people sitting to stay out of the eye of the police.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of needs to be over there, just literally shed some light.
and so the thing is with that, and that is that I think we need a couple more, but
You want more than two?
It all depends on how,
Well, I think with
Yeah.
the LED lights that they have now, I think they're better,
they're,
right?
they're better. But
Cause it is a street light.
the thing that we should do is,
it gonna, if you put too many, is there any residencies nearby that you may end up
impacting.
shining into their
Chris is
windows or
seasonal, I
whatever?
think,
Yeah.
isn't he?
Yeah.
Was
The only
it-
other,
Chris Goodyear, I think
the
is
only other
seasonal.
one would be the people, depending on how it was in the Quincy, you know, I don't know. There's screening there, there's
Yeah.
trees in the middle there, so.
Yeah, but that's just for the hotel, I'm talking permanent residents.
No, there's two
somebody-
people live up on the third floor in Quincy.
Oh,
Yeah, they're,
Permanent-
They
yeah,
have
permanent.
efficiencies.
Yeah, their
Food
efficiency's up on the third
Oh,
floor
okay.
there, so, but again, there's screening there, so it might
Yeah.
not really matter. I know they
yeah,
got,
that's the only concern is
Yeah.
that
Ryan, I think, is blocked by most.
if we
of
say,
them.
hey, let's put all these lights on,
Right,
and
yeah.
then all of a sudden somebody's like coming in with sunglasses at our meeting, saying, hey, yeah, I don't know what you did, but it's a little strong.
but it is, I noticed the garbage, the JROTC kids all picked that up there this spring, and it's all back to the garbage again, I noticed, so,
Yeah, I think that's the teenage hang up.
yeah.
Bill says he picks it up every time before he mows, so he goes around, he said it takes him anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes to pick up all the garbage, so he doesn't mow it over.
Put cameras up on the poles too.
I think once the village is getting
I think we should have anyways for security reasons for the opera house and whatnot.
I don't know, I just look at it as that for that distance in there, it's, I mean,
Well, we could try to and see what it looks like.
well, the thing is that if it's costing us, okay, this amount for so-called one pole, and we already got the trucks there. I mean, because it's kind of hard to believe it.
They were gonna charge
I
any
mean,
more
it's
for
$1,000. I mean, it's gonna be another $1,000, just so to speak, just from linemen and
They're gonna charge you the same thing if you have them back in 6 months for another one.
Yeah.
yeah.
They won't give you a deal.
But so if we put in two, then we'll get it over with.
So you want 3?
I think so.
How many are in the park and ride by the armory?
A lot.
Yeah. But are they low?
I think they're kind of,
Yeah,
they're kind of bright, but I don't
profile.
think they've upgraded them since they put them in.
Because even if you go over here to Hannaford's,
Hannaford's is dark.
lighting is terrible. I mean,
Terrible.
it's dark.
Terrible.
You could get mugged there, nobody'd see it.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe that's why I say it's, you know,
I don't think 3 is unreasonable at all. I mean, considering.
But we'd have to ask him for a new quote, and so we can't assume that this is gonna be another 33%.
No, 'cause,
or
I mean,
whatever,
everything
because
you
some
could
of it
multiply
is
the
here,
top
some
part.
is not.
For the labor, we wouldn't know.
why they'd be able to work just twice as fast.
Well, I will send them an email and ask for a new quote on 3.
Well, one existing and two in addition.
Well, one's just a pole.
But then would that qualify as, I mean, would they have to upgrade that pole, so to speak?
No, the pole's fine, they just got a light on the pole.
Phil,
There's not a
I
light
didn't talk
on
to
the
Phil
pole,
when I
there's
put-
just.
Right, no, but, you know, the pole could be too short.
Well, they got 2 yard lights, unless they're putting 2 on one pole.
Right.
They're utilizing another pole.
I can't even think where those lights are. I was in that parking lot for 20 years and I can't think where that light is. I can't even think of it.
$110 a light, so.
Never ran into it.
Right, yeah.
When you first drive in.
I think on the Quincy side, there's a pole with a meter on it. Must be the lights on that pole.
Yeah.
I don't even know that
Must
there
be.
is a light, there is a pole
I
with
thought
a
there was
meter.
Okay.
No.
There might not be
Yeah, I
a
I
don't
thought
light.
there
think
was
so.
one light in
I
that
don't
parking
The
lot, but maybe
Lions
not.
Club paid for a pole and a meter for the carnival people to hook up to.
Oh,
So there's no light.
oh, okay.
Let's say,
Solve that
I don't
problem.
think there's a
Okay,
light
sure.
up there.
That's what I was thinking too. I'm like,
Well,
is there
I'm
a
just
light
glad I'm
there?
not the only one that thinks Hannaford's dark, because I come out with my groceries and I'm like,
It's
scared
pretty
me.
I don't go in there.
Yeah,
It's
it's- I
pretty.
mean,
it
lighting
is,
lighting
it
is
is.
just
I was
terrible,
like,
terrible.
oh.
It is.
Could we always just approve what's the word?
Well, this is gonna be totally different because it's the,
Oh,
I mean, you can multiply the top part, but the labor is gonna totally change.
yeah, so there's probably makes more sense just to get a new quote, right?
Yeah.
Who pays for the electricity? Us, the village, both?
We do.
We do.
I know there's a couple out in the town that we pay for.
You wanna buy it again?
One man would get, and there's one at Enosburgh Center that we could.
Alright, so we'll table this quote until we get a new one. Alright, so we got minutes here to approve. Shouldn't take too long.
BJ, do you know what kind of lights we pay for costs? Do they have them separate meters or not?
They are separate meters and it's minimal, it's like $18.
They upgraded them to the new LED lights, I don't think they take a lot.
No, they don't.
Alright, head out.
Thanks,
Alright.
Joey.
Thanks, George. Are you gonna be available if it was the 22nd of August? Are you planning any vacations in August or anything? Just for Bethany's.
Okay.
It's either gonna be the 15th or the 22nd.
Just let me know.
The bridge looks good over there near Tyler Branch too. Like, road.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we
Very
got
nice.
we got that piece of road ready for pavement, so whenever they're available.
Oh, good. Yeah, it looks good.
What else? Yeah, motor's up and running, and got an email the other day on the 550 that it's got a VIN number and got a build date in August, end of August, 29th, something like that.
Oh.
27th, 29th, I forget.
Good. Yeah, because they were talking like December, weren't they?
He said 6 months at the time when we ordered it, but so maybe a little quicker than that.
Good.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey,
thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
Just probably want to give Jesse a title.
Okay.
Other than that, I'll move.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Pierre and seconded by Jessica to accept the June 20 minutes. Change of the item titles in Jesse Williams. Any more discussion? If having none, all those in favor of approving it, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. And we have the minutes approved for June 20. Alright. Tax rates and due date.
I didn't make it, but I won't. It's too hot during the other one, so I let him first.
It's supposed to be like really hot this week. See that? It's like
Whoa.
90 on Wednesday.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
Choices. I really like choices.
alright.
They'll never compare to your homemade. Let me just say
Who's the
that
tax
maple thing. Whoa, that was
So the
good.
tax rates are right here in front of me. This is the general, and this is the highway, and it's pretty much what we said in the town report.
General is .4164, and highway is .5189.
Double check that while you have that in hand. I think I have a copy of it. Must have a copy, my goodness, I never read it. We said .416 in the book,
For the general,
yep, and then .521.
so 5189, yeah,
Okay.
pretty close.
Yep. Oh, you're so good at guessing.
So, seeing we're in the ballpark, I'll take a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to
Tax
accept
rate?
the tax rates.
I'll second it.
Jessica made a motion.
Thank you.
Peter seconded that motion to set the tax rates. Any more discussion? If having none, all those in favor is accepting the tax rate for general at .4164 and highway at .5189. Signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. So we have approved tax rates. So now,
So tax bills will go out this week, guys. Be ready for season's greetings in July.
Oh my goodness.
It's usually September,
This
so.
year is just crazy fast.
so you mentioned due date, so I think we have done this in the past, the last 2 years because of the pandemic to push it out.
We typically used to do November 10th when the pandemic hit, and then we started going to just,
I saw, yeah, which was nice. I mean, that was.
oh yeah,
I'm sure-
people appreciate it.
Yeah.
It was actually last year was a very difficult year.
Mhm. We had a-
That bewitching hour was more than we've ever had still
Yeah,
out there.
I called Larry and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but nobody's paying.
Is that something we can just keep open as a? No, it has to be, okay. I wasn't sure because of COVID is better.
I mean, as it was, we pushed it out a month.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know, I'd say go 11/10.
We're gonna go back to November.
Makes better sense, we should. I mean, we can get back to some normalcy. Plus it gives us a month.
Yeah, I'm kind of the impression too, if we've gone 2 years, if we do the 3, it's really gonna be expected to keep it there.
Agreed.
And, if we need to pull it back.
And we're giving
You can
them
also-
extra time now because we're done and ready sooner.
Right.
And they could make payments anytime or they start to save on their own.
And when the tax bills all go out, they'll have a notice right there too. In lieu of, we're going back to,
Yeah, I mean, it's a good time to change with everything else coming back into place, you know.
so we probably
This
should
year.
have a motion to,
I'll move.
move what? How do you move here?
Apparently we're moving down.
I'll second his move.
To go back to,
Setting the tax date for November 10th.
alright, so Pierre made the motion to put the tax date back to the original November 10th. And
I second that
Jessica
move.
second that. Any more discussion? If having none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I hear no nays, so it is approved, go back. Alright. Jesse,
Just,
you're next.
So, of course, it feels like it's been a long time. Last time we all had talked about, we had that walkthrough with the armory and whatnot. So I set Laz in motion about having it as a non-sprinkler building, so we have to do different codes, different plans, so he's doing that. Been poking the bear, kind of sweet Mr. Grease, he's gonna give me a shout tomorrow, we're gonna go over those plans regarding a non-sprinklered building, which Larry had walked through. Really, the only change is adding an additional egress to that meeting room, or we're having a meeting room, because the entrance to the meeting room to the door is roughly 60 feet, and if it's anything over 50 feet, we have to have that additional egress. Everything else though looked pretty good, so.
So they were still talking about.
Yeah.
Because they were gonna check on some
he's-
language and
some
stuff.
language, and I'm still waiting on Jeff with that. But like I said, as soon as I went back after we all met, I emailed Laz immediately and I said he had been in talks with me. Laz wanted to be there, but his wife was out for surgery. So
Couple points on that walkthrough, give the rest of the board an update. proceeding in this manner, going forward, we have to, if we want to put flooring in,
Yeah.
it has to meet their specs for non-sprinklers.
Yes.
So
Everything
It
has to
may-
be spec for
it may not be what we choose to put in there, it's what they deem is important. So one caveat about that is, we can still put sprinklers in if we want to go under some grants. We don't have to put it in today, but if it's something you want to do, then it's not going to preclude what you're putting in, what you put on the wall.
Yeah,
As-
it sounds like in the long run, it might make more sense
It might
to.
for the expanded use of the building of what we want to do.
Yeah.
You know, but it, like Larry said, if we want to get in there now, we basically get in, and then roll, and then we can kind of look. That can kind of be our phase, whatever we're at now. And
So,
what it
so you
is.
we may not be able to put the type of flooring we got. Maybe we just fill in the cracks somehow,
Right.
temporarily right now.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know what will not meet their specifications. We'd have to get.
Right.
If we wanted to start researching different flooring material, we'd have to get it and then find out with them, does this meet
Yeah.
the requirement? We don't-
And
Are you able to do a phased approach? Like, are you able to get in there? and
Oh yeah,
then-
no, and that's
Oh, okay.
so part of the deal is, so what has to happen is Laz, the architect, has to make those plans. He stamps
Oh,
those plans and
okay.
said, this is what you guys have got to do. So then we give that to all of our contractors, they do all that stuff, and then in order to get a certificate of occupancy issued to us, then they're gonna go, you know, Jeff is gonna go through and go, okay, yep, they got this and this and this, okay, they got all these things that were on those plans, and then we can do that. And like Larry said, we can't hang any signs on the wall.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
You can't do that, you can't have a flag in there, we can't have a Christmas tree around Christmas time, it's bare bones. But
Gotcha.
at least it gets us in there and it gets us there, and then the next phase is we can start researching, okay, what exactly entails us getting a sprinkler system.
So the meeting, did that meeting happen? I thought there was
Yep.
a meeting. Oh, okay.
Yeah, what happened, well, that was what?
Mark LaRose showed up.
Mark was there,
Phil,
Phil
myself.
and Larry,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we went with Jeff, and then Jeff Bryant's regional boss, who, you know, we did the walkthrough, so.
So the one thing about the sprinkler system is the amount of water to feed that system. And you can only go one way across the street,
Right.
because they downsize from there down, and that's probably the bare minimum.
That's a 4. I went and checked with Gary.
It's a 4?
It's a 4-inch. So technically you're supposed to have a 6-inch water line coming in, and the village only has a 4-inch
It's
at the
cement.
curb. Yeah, so we have to have pumps and
So
all
so
sorts
is
of stuff.
this the route that you guys are kind of thinking, or?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the architect has got that mindset of a non-sprinkler building, so he's gonna review, he is reviewing and has reviewed all the plans to basically make any changes, one of which is an additional door in the meeting room, because it is further than 50 feet away from the front door, that's why, so that's where we left it, and he's calling me tomorrow at 2 to go over those plans, and hopefully we can have a set of plans.
So you're saying,
cool.
I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
trying to follow.
Yeah.
Sprinklers or no sprinklers?
No sprinklers.
No sprinklers.
No sprinklers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
2, yeah. I'm guessing, I'd shoot from the hip, 150, 200,000, I don't
Oh,
know.
okay, see, I thought when you were saying that you
Yeah.
had to have everything up to that coat that you.
Now, if you don't have the sprinklers, you can't just go hanging 10 by 10 pieces of cardboard all over the
on
walls
yeah,
for
signs.
signs.
Does that
stuff.
mean you're
Pictures.
tied to that for like forever though? So if, no.
Well, if we don't ever put sprinklers in, then you would have to go. and-
Yeah, that's what I mean,
The
like,
goal is to get the workers in there right.
right,
Yeah,
right,
right.
okay.
And then work on it.
Right.
And then it also helps our budget because then you're not having to fork out so much
Right.
money.
Right.
So, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Because
So-
it's very expensive.
So,
So,
that, yeah,
so that
That's
egress
expensive.
door,
That's crazy.
they were talking about just opening out, right?
basically, right.
Because, yeah, it's not an entry door, it's just an escape.
Basically putting it like a crash bar on it, like it's gonna be a fire alarm door. It's not gonna be like a regular door, it's gonna be, you push on it, it's gonna go, the fire alarm is gonna go off, so. We're still, everything knock on wood is good for the abatement on the 22nd, August 22nd, that's all lined up for the windows and the lead dust white. So after we left that walkthrough with Jeff and Bill, there was I don't know if you noticed it, there was a dig safe guy there, which I knew there was there's that 6,000 gallon fuel tank at the armory, which they had asked, Northwest had asked, they said, are you guys ready for taking the tank out? Yep. I said, just let me know so I can, if there's any costs associated. No costs. Well, that had moved faster than anyone had told me, Northwest. So they were doing dig safe that day.
Oh,
So they came in, because he was just like, because I was talking with Phil, and he goes, I'm blah, blah, with dig safe. And I'm like, what are you here for? And he goes, there's a big tank in here that we're looking for. So anyway, long story short, that was 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. They came in, took out the tank. That's gone now. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
They
So
pumped it too, but they had stuff in
it had 495 gallons of stuff in it.
Awesome,
So,
get that done before we
it's-
moved in, because
yeah.
then we don't have to disturb the parking lot.
Yeah, everything. They didn't do too bad. They got a little bit of pavement because the soil, it kind of all caved in. Take that big giant tank out. I was a little confused why they didn't use some sheeting that day to kind of hold stuff up, but we lost a couple panels of the sidewalk to the kitchen. They were gonna try to put it back underneath and leave it, and I said, cut it there, pack it, because otherwise you're never gonna pack it underneath and the sidewalk's gonna dip. And so they were there 2 days. They ended out hitting one of the roof drains that came off. That's what you had saw there, Pierre. I think that was good because I don't think they ever hooked up the roof drain that was coming off by the kitchen to that main 6-inch that goes out to the driveway. I don't think they ever hooked it up, because I was there when they were digging and he hit it and we all kind of said stop, and you could see the fittings, but there was no pipe that went from the 45 into the Y. It was kind of weird, and we were all like,
Pretend.
I'm pretty sure it was like close enough. We're at the end of the line, so they hooked it. Yeah.
Once you bury it, you can.
Right. yeah. So, so we got that. They got that all hooked up, and they got it all filled back in, and so that's all done and smoothed over, and so that's done. So.
And they're gonna put in the 2 pads, the two.
No, they're not. They don't put pads back in. They just.
So we're gonna.
They put in some crushed, that gray stone.
Yep, they put,
Yeah, so it's packed in there. So it's not, because I told them, I said I don't want topsoil. I said I want something gravel gray stone. So they did put that.
okay, and then we'll just do back our own
If we
blocks.
ever want to put that back in there. So.
Yeah.
So.
And
So
this-
once the
this
22nd goes around, once
Monday,
that's done,
today,
then we can
is
get
the first one
everybody
that we've had where we
back in.
had
I'm gonna call
Merle?
Merrill too and just
Oh,
tell him, because he told me he said
There's
take
only
it 2
just-
weeks, but I'm gonna call him
Some-
probably sometime this
there's
week and
only
say, hey,
10
listen, the woman who was there, I don't know if you talked to her that day, the woman Angela that was at the day when they
Yeah.
put the tanks
how
out.
many were there?
She is also a part of the
Oh, how many
whole
could've-
lead
Oh.
dust window removal.
Anybody
She's part of
that
that
worked for
same
us.
Oh,
group.
you-
Except for-
And she's gonna give me a better
We
definitive
opened it
timeline
when
of
we told the people
how many
it was
windows can you take
part-time
out in a
people.
day. So that way I can tell Merrill, like, Merrill can only put in 3 windows in it. I don't know, you know what I mean? And these guys can only take out 1, or vice versa. Somebody's chasing each other's tail. I just want to know what.
That's smart,
And that way you aren't having to go back, and maybe not. Maybe
He is
it's
smart.
because they have to dispose of those windows, in a certain way. So ideally, it'd be nice if one comes out and a new one goes in, one comes out and a new one, basically, and it goes that way. So, but once that's done, then we can start getting people back in there once we have the plans and everything. So, because we could have people go in there now, but if anybody leaves their tools, they got to take everything out for that whole cleaning process. So, the stuff we do have in there, I put everything on skids. So that way we can, when they clean, they can move it around. So there's like conduit in there, and Eric's got some electrical stuff.
Is there a date yet? Like, do you have a solid date of when it will be like open
Ready
to
to
the?
go.
No.
Tomorrow I should know more with the plans, with what Laz has got. And the other thing is the vault to what degree of what that is going to entail, so.
And there's some other stuff going on outside. Jesse's been in on
Yeah.
with Margot talking about a skating rink out in the Cajun area.
Yeah, they were trying to figure out a few locations. One was Lincoln Park, one was Maple Park, and then we kind of all agreed that it should be at the Armory because it's the least, you got parking there, we got power there, we've got water there, we've got a relatively flat spot. We can kind of move some stuff around that little brown building to have, you know, for the skaters to go and put their
You're
skates
talking
on.
ice skate, oh,
Yeah,
ice.
yeah, ice
Okay.
skating, yeah. Little bit of site work, Joey's gonna go over and
That's
they're gonna
good.
look at it to see what kind of site work needs to be happening, you know, just,
Well,
'Cause it
Wednesday
is
we're meeting and I think
right
they put it
down,
on the
so,
agenda
but-
for local
Cool.
construction. They asked Vaughn to look
Okay.
it over.
Cool,
and
yeah.
Hopefully tell us before.
Other than that.
Thanks, Jesse. It'd be nice if, or the 20th, because of.
I've already go back.
Alright. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
What are you here for? Just listening, or did I don't see?
I wanted to kind of give an update on a couple of the things that I talked to the board about last time, personnel and the ambulance, but.
Jesse,
Personnel.
before we get into that, what's going on, anything going on with Tractor Supply?
Oh.
Are they,
Yeah, actually, I was just reading my notes. So everything's on schedule, on pace, everything's going good. They haven't had a lot of trouble finding material. Right now, they're planning on the contractors being done November 17th with handing it over to them that date, and then with an anticipated opening right around December 2nd, the week of December 2nd. Is what they're doing.
are you kinda watching, making sure they're following?
Right, yeah. Yeah, I went up there the other day, and yeah, what day did I go? What day today?
I think it was Friday, because you,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
Friday
was
one,
Friday,
yeah.
they consulted with you on something about.
Yeah, they had their, this guy, the GC has been really good about if anything has come up that they can't get. So the screening for the rooftop units for their HVAC, they were gonna do one thing, they couldn't get them, and so he emailed me when I was in Florida. He said, is this okay? And I said, yeah, and he came back and he asked me, wanted to make sure the color was correct and, you know, what we had, and so we dug up the plans and looked what we had for color and stuff like that, so.
No applications for the front lot.
Yeah. Kind of a weird, the developers have changed. It's kind of
Oh,
a
really?
hard dynamic.
Yeah, that's what I was kinda wondering, cause there's a lot of
Um,
changes that have gone on there,
Yeah,
right?
the guy that wasn't there that's now back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he works for a different company, but the same company, it's kinda odd. Yeah,
Okay then.
different state, different everything, so.
Sounds like you got it covered.
Yeah, yeah, so, but no, they definitely, I think it's just dragged on long enough for them and they
Oh yeah, I see them out there working yesterday.
They work July 4th, they work
I
every day.
thought the 4th I saw somebody. Yeah.
Maybe we can get you to contact Commonwealth and see what we can do about the brighter light bulbs.
Yeah, in the parking lot, yeah, I should call, actually, that's a good idea, I should call, I do have a contact for Bumble.
I mean, everybody
That is
knows
a good
it's the
point,
darkest
yeah.
parking lot in all of Franklin.
Yeah,
I'm so glad it wasn't being done.
No,
Really
it's-
yeah,
excited.
yep, that's it, yeah, the only other thing I had just was after a couple things, so.
Okay.
Because of them.
So next we have the VMers Raw Municipal Retirement System contract, right?
Mhm. They said
Thomas?
we missed it, I thought we sent it.
And this is basically for, what was there, 10 of our employees signed up for?
Ten out of how many possible?
Well, we got,
30. Overall. That's just,
I don't
A
think
rough
I ever
guess.
got anything on that. I don't know if we all were
you weren't
supposed to.
working for us when it was first distributed, but you can sign that.
so it's currently, rates,
Firemen were eligible.
the rates are 5%. Employer, 5%. So there's no, a lot of them go, you can choose up to or whatever, but this one is.
Some
straight-
towns are, like Richford does 11%, I know that off the top of my head.
11? Wow.
You can go up to 11, right?
I don't know how much you can go up to, but
Oh.
Richford does a lot.
But this one isn't give you a choice.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
some people will say, well, I'll do 2% or
Right.
3%, but this is a 5%
Locked in.
locked in. So this is basically the contract,
You just need to sign that, Larry,
we must have made a motion back in,
We did, and Jessie
I know.
had the paperwork, she said that we just didn't have this paper signed.
I was gonna say, well, there was that,
But we sent in the minutes,
right, I was
very
gonna say,
specific
everything
minutes, very
was
specific.
that from Dawn or the other?
Jennifer Grace.
I'm guessing that was when, what's her name was out, that's
Oh,
why.
yeah, could be.
so should I
Yeah.
put today's date,
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is 18. There's 2 places.
I did it too, one for me and one of it.
A what?
I
I
think
was
there's
gonna see if you would do a quarter of it.
Okay. Alright, so next, we have a nomination for the rec committee. This is from Catherine Bennett. She'd like to be on the committee. They're looking for spots, right?
But we have quite a few open spots, so.
And then she's gave a nice little letter here. I don't know if you're all familiar with Catherine. So she's got her name here if you choose to add her on or not. I think there's only probably 3 people on that committee right now.
Yeah, there's
Who are the others on there now?
Amy Schweiner, I think that's the name. Jen Burns is still on. And Steve Wadsworth. And Devane Wolf.
Oh, yeah.
Sean is on?
She got done a few years ago.
Do you need a motion for that, or is it?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve Catherine's nomination.
Second.
So Jessica made a motion to accept Catherine Bennett for Recreation Committee. Dean seconded that motion. Any more discussion? I'm having none. All those in favor of accepting the nomination, signify by saying aye.
Right?
All those opposed, say nay. So, Catherine Bennett on Rec Committee. Alright, so I have an application from Cassie Marie Woodrow for EMT. Education, Essex High School, college, she went to College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, in school apparently. Her subjects are health science and pre-PA. And then other education, EMTB. 3 years on an ambulance, direct patient care and communication are high skill areas. Technology and adoption are other skills. Previous Milton Rescue, the role title was 3rd member from 2019 to current. Last March. Trying to figure out that was March 2019. Performing all tasks with the EMT scope of practice, enhanced life support ambulance. Date employed July 2020 to current. It was Al's French fries. Job notes, server and cashier. Responsible for training, new team members, various roles. Shift leader. And then next experience was January 2022 to this March is Cataldo ambulance, Boston, Massachusetts. The role title is COVID-19 vaccinator, checking patients in, COVID-19 screening, and administering COVID-19 vaccines to patients of all ages at clinics throughout Boston. And the last one, December 2020 to April 2021, Lenny Shoes. Organized display in multiple departments, clothing selection, as well as operating cash registers.
So is she's still in school for the health?
She is still in college.
So, yeah.
She came for a ride along, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we actually had a priority patient when she was here. She did very well in helping us a little bit. but she's a college student, so she would be around
Summertime.
during breaks.
And, that's right, maybe the important one would be the holiday breaks and
Absolutely.
Christmas and New Year's.
She impressed me. She did a good job.
She's looking for part-time or
For the-
she is a
She-
EMTB, is that what
Yeah,
it
same thing I am. EMT.
She referred to us from Sam. Maybe, you want to read it all?
What is our work status or overtime levels and everything?
No.
now?
We'll be there.
We definitely need more help.
Yeah, we need help.
And
So,
I'll move to offer her a per diem position.
I'll second.
Dean made a motion to accept her as per diem. Cassie Marie Boudreau. Jessica, second that. Any more discussion? Having none, all those in favor of hiring her as per diem, signify by saying aye.
alright,
All those opposed say nay. Yeah, it'd be great if she could fill in some holidays.
Are we getting to the point where we got some of these applicants, they kind of come in front of us? Is that a good or bad idea?
Oh.
Yeah.
If they're available, it's not a bad idea at all.
I think it'd be nice to.
Could put
See
some
them.
faces to
Yeah.
the names.
This is all set there, so we got the warrants, and there's a,
If he's gonna talk about stuff we talked about last time, I'm going to executive.
oh,
Because it
okay,
involved people.
make sure I got everything off the agenda. Covered everything, so. Alright, so,
November.
we're gonna be talking about personnel, and we're gonna have to entertain a executive session.
I'll second the move.
Peter made the motion and Jessica seconded it. Any more discussion? If having none, all those in favor of going to executive session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. So we're in executive session at 8:35.